really unique things that are happening with their future inside of the game, but also what they're doing outside, the impact that they've had inside of our community. We've reset a team record every semester that I've been there. Last semester we finished with a 3.17 team GPA. Our kids are doing it right and having a lot of fun competing together on a daily basis. Fortunate to bring three tremendous ambassadors for Tennessee football here today. Joe Milton, Omari Thomas, and Jacob Warren. Omari and Jacob are residents of this state. They've grown up with the Power T being a symbol inside of this border. Joe obviously is a great leader and ambassador for our program. The tough thing about only choosing three guys is you only get to choose three. We have a lot of great guys that are great leaders inside of our program that are a part of our leadership council. They weren't fortunate to be here or I couldn't bring with us, but they are also great representatives of our program. Really, a lot of special moments from a year ago as we look back on the 22 season. A lot of special moments, things that our fan base will remember forever. The players inside of the locker room will remember forever. At the same time, fell short of a lot of the goals that we had set for our program. And I'm really excited and proud of what our players have done since they've gotten back on campus in late January. Their ability to reset and refocus and be ready to go accomplish a mission together. Individually grow, but collectively get ready to go accomplish a mission. It's a group that's extremely hungry. They want more, they expect more, and we're certainly excited about embarking on this 23 season. Accountability and consistency in that has been one of the main things that we've focused on this year. In this conference, you don't get any redos. You better show up every single Saturday afternoon or evening. You're going to play great players, great coaches, and you got to be ready for those moments at home or on the road. And through that, we've tried to increase our leadership and ownership from within our program. I talked about how important that is to me. I think that's where championship seasons lie. And the second thing is we've tried to become more physical. And when I say that, everybody thinks about the line of scrimmage, but it's really at every position and every person inside of our program. Continuing to grow in that way so that we have an opportunity to be the most physical football team on the field every Saturday. A ton of excitement that surrounds our program. 71,000 season tickets sold. The energy is real inside and outside of our program. But as I said at the end of the bowl game, the best is yet to come for Tennessee football. Excited about this journey with this group of guys in this 23 season. And I don't know that there's ever been a better time to be involved. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions.
If you have a question, raise your hand. Price, Arizona, or Alexis will get a microphone to you. Please give your name and affiliation and stand up, please.
Thank you.
Okay, we will start up here on the front row, right here to our right.
Hey, Coach Heupel, Brady Penn, Volunteer Country. So with Hendon Hooker, you had a transfer that came in, had some success at the quarterback position. Now you've got Joe at quarterback, who's a transfer himself. And I know you saw that growth with Hendon. Talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think, one of the great stories in college football in the era of the transfer portal is, his trust and ability to recognize areas that he can continue to grow in and trust the people around him, that we have his best interests at heart, understand that within our scheme he's going to have an opportunity to do everything that he wants to, which is be one of the best players inside of college football. And through that process, over the last, 18 to 24 months, he's continued to grow in his comfort of who he is, what he's about, how he wants to approach and attack every single day, how he wants to grow as a football player, meaning fundamentally at the quarterback position, along with understanding offensive and defensive schemes so that he can put his eyes in the right spot, get his body in the right spot to be consistently accurate with the football, and then how he wants to impact his teammates. Nobody inside of our program was surprised by the success that he had when he got his opportunity last year as a starter. He played extremely well when he got into football games throughout the course of the season, but his preparation, his urgency, how he practiced, all those things led himself to everybody inside of our building believing that he was going to play at that type of level. And he's got a lot more out there. He's had a great offseason for 15 practices in spring ball, did a great job of navigating the pocket, being extremely accurate with the football. I'm really excited to get back on the grass with him during the course of training camp. I believe he's poised to have a great 23 season.
Coach, we'll go over to my left and your left, second row. Eric?
Eric Bailey with the Tulsa World. Josh, you've been around college football your entire life. I was just curious, what does it mean to you to be on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot? And what do you think your players know about your playing career and also the national championship that you won at Oklahoma?
Yeah, they don't know enough about my playing career. Day one in training camp, I'm going to make sure we put a couple highlights up there. None of them of me running around either, by the way. It's a great honor to be looked at in that way, to be on the ballot, to be potentially a part of the Hall of Fame. A year ago, got an opportunity to recognize one of our teammates, Roy Williams, that got a chance to go in. Special player, had such a huge impact on the game, and certainly what we did there at Oklahoma. Those things only happen, though, because of the players that I got an opportunity to be in the locker room with every single day. Forever grateful to all of those guys, everybody on the offensive side of the ball, the 5 offensive linemen, but everybody on that team. It was a special team, and, it's certainly made a huge impact in my life. Part of why I'm up here today, to be honest, and so forever indebted to those guys and very appreciative, but humbled by that recognition as well.
Okay, we'll stay over on that same side on the aisle, far out.
Hey Josh, Tyler Palmatier with the Oklahoman. A lot of Oklahoma fans, they remember your time very fondly and have followed you along as you become a head coach and watched your career. And I know that relationship with OU is a little complicated, but what was it like seeing, Oklahoma on the schedule in 2024?
Yeah, the relationship with Oklahoma really isn't complicated. I got nothing but great memories of the people and, my time there. I certainly do. And it's a huge, I got a chance to talk about Mike Leach a few minutes ago backstage and in an interview. And, everybody there helped shape who I am and where I'm at today. And still got a lot of great friends and teammates that live back there. So the opportunity to go back to Oklahoma, I wish they were coming to Knoxville first, but I say that jokingly, but looking forward to that opportunity. That's a long ways down the road, man. Focused on 23, but that'll be a unique day in my career, obviously, to go back there.
Coach, we'll go down the center aisle about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Coach. Christian Skelton with Fox Sports Knoxville. You've been able to retain your entire coaching staff aside from Cody Burns and Alex Golish since you've been on campus. How big is stability in your coaching staff for your program?
Yeah, you try to create a culture that coaches want to be a part of. They feel like they are a part of the process. You want to create a culture where families get a chance to be a part of the process as well. I grew up the son of a coach, and those are the greatest memories of my childhood. And so I think it's really important that they're a part of it. And if you do those things and you have the resources that we have at Tennessee, you're able to have some stability within your staff, which is vitally critical to your players. Them understanding what they're walking into every single day, not having to rebuild an entire relationship from the ground up. We've been able to replace those guys, and you want staff to grow too, right? Like Alex will do a great job down at South Florida. I want guys to get head jobs from where we're at, but guys aren't just leaving to take another job either. And so we've actually been able to promote from within because they were the right guys. There's so much consistency. All the things that we were navigating as you take over a program, and in year 1 and year 2, I think it was vitally important that we've been able to have that, and it's a big part of our continued growth this offseason here in 23.
Coach, we're going to go in front of me about 3/4 of the way back.
Yeah, Coach, Joey Knight with the Tampa Bay Times. Could you expand on, you said you feel Alex will be a great head coach. What are his traits? Why do you think he'll be a great head coach?
Competitive, willing to work. I think those are 2 traits that drive you every minute of the day to continue to help your program grow. You look at that, it's where the starting blocks are, in my opinion. And then he's got a great ability to communicate. And he's hired a lot of really good people. Some of them were in our building a year ago, some young staff that will be great coaches. So I'm really excited about, where he's going to take that program.
Coach, we'll go straight in front of me, first row.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press. Josh, the challenge in these days, you're almost in a rare situation where you've got a quarterback you had now going into your third season. He's been here. With the transfer portal, is it challenging, and how grateful are you that you're not having to deal with getting a quarterback up to speed out of the portal and get them up to speed in your offense all before the season starts? And how nice is it to have Joe in this situation?
Yeah, it is rare that you're able to keep quarterbacks inside of your quarterback room. The days of having 4 or 5 quarterbacks consistently, I think those are probably not real anymore. Guys want to have the opportunity to play and compete early. I think it's rare that a young man like Joe is able to sit back and trust the people around him, that we have his best interest at heart, recognize the areas that he can and needs to grow in to become the player that he's capable of, and also know that if I stick this thing out and I compete hard every single day, I'm going to grow, and in what we do offensively, going to be able to do the things that I wanted to inside a college football landscape. Those are rare things, and it takes a really mature guy, which Joe has proven to be.
Coach, we'll go here right here in the middle of the front row.
Coach, Brooks Austin with Dogs Daily. Being an offense that prioritizes pace, I'm curious your thoughts on the new rule change with the clock no longer stopping on first downs. And additionally, there's a potential rule with, the hash marks maybe aligning themselves with the NFL. You also prioritize space. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that potential change.
The clock rule at the end of the first half, I think everybody's going to be playing in it the same way. I don't think it's going to have a dramatic different effect on us versus another offense. How you manage your timeouts might be a little bit different at the end of regulation or at the end of the half. All in all, we'll see what the numbers play out to be, but there's a series of the game that's probably taken away in general for every team, because of some of the clock rules. But we'll see how that plays out during the course of the year.
Coach, we'll go straight in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back.
Coach, Tim Buckley with the Daily Memphian in Memphis. What does it mean to the interior of your defense to have Omari Thomas not consider going into the draft? And what does his personality bring to your locker room?
Omari is a guy that loves to have fun. He's got great energy every single day. He's become a really strong leader in being able to command guys, and that can be positively. It can be trying to get them to go accomplish the things that they need to in the weight room or on the practice field. He's got a great voice inside of our locker room. As I said, a tremendous leader. Vitally important for us as we continue to try to take steps on the defensive side of the football. A year ago, we took a massive jump in our ability to defend the run. Omari and the guys that we brought back a year ago were a huge part of that. Expect all of those guys to make another jump. They did a great job in spring ball. Fundamentals, technique, consistency from play to play, day to day. And one of the other areas that we've had to improve upon is the ability to affect the passer with our front four, not just bringing pressure. We need that because of situational football. We got to get better on third downs, third and long in particular. And I thought those guys did a great job this spring. Coach Garner, Coach Eckler, what those guys have done up front. Really happy and pleased and excited to get to training camp with them.
And that is Josh Heupel in the main media room, and you heard quite a bit there from Coach Heupel and what his expectations are for this upcoming year. And he did speak to the fact that he really felt like he was going to be able to, John, see if we can get the commission hooked up here on 4 is the one that he needs to be hooked up on there. He's rocking his own headsets now, rocking his own equipment now, which is pretty impressive for the commissioner. But Josh Heupel this year saying that going into last night on one of the TV shows, saying he's not here to just get by or just be competitive. They're here to win championships. And it's interesting, who's not? Doesn't everybody want to do that? But they did make a big move last year, of course, and get themselves in a much more competitive situation last year. So we'll see what happens. Lost a couple that they didn't expect to lose, and won several that they didn't expect to win. I mean, to be quite honest with you, it's just the way that whole thing panned out, and that's what they were able to do. All right, joining us now, complete with his own gear, is the commissioner, Greg Sankey. Greg, can you hear me? Okay, hang on. Let me see if we can't get you turned up a little bit. You got him plugged into 4, John, there? I don't know if yeah, get him into 4. There you go. All right, we got you now? All right, wait a minute. Now I don't have you. Hang on one second. All right, there you go. Now we got you.
Got me? There you go.
Now we got you. So you got your own radio gear now, huh?
Well,
is this a COVID thing or what?
It was pre-COVID thought that, there's like 30 people that talk on these things. They're very close to your mouth, and that may not be the most hygienic approach. So
that's a great idea.
I'm not high maintenance generally, but on this one I became high maintenance. So thank you for your technical support.
How was Skinny Atlas this summer? Did you get up there?
It was good, yeah. We just came back Saturday. Went up in early June, traveled out of there for meetings, came back on the weekends, and last week, as I was writing my remarks, I sat on a dock by the lake, which really makes you more effective in writing, I think.
Of course, from Canisius Lake, we've talked about that in the past, that I'm a Finger Lakes guy as well. And what was really interesting, and I know our concern is the SEC, but this morning when the National Football Foundation, they were up there talking about all the schools that play football. And I coached at St. John Fisher for several years in the Empire 8, Ithaca, and Buffalo State and all of that. And he mentioned the growth of football nationally, that there's so many, there's been like 86 schools take up college football in the last several years. I think 15 or 16 more this year. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of doomsday talk out there about college football and the state of football in general, yet all of these colleges are adding football, and they mentioned all the way down through D3, which is what we were part of.
And I was at Utica University now, where I began my career, and back then they were Division I, just transitioning to Division III. They now have football team, they have ice hockey teams for men and women, lacrosse teams. I spoke as their commencement speaker. And you can do great things with enrollment opportunities and participation opportunities, which is part of the educational and growth experience around college athletics. And one of my great stories, back in the fall of 86, fall of 86, went to a basketball coaching clinic at St. John Fisher. Supposed to be Rick Pitino, and Billy Donovan was a senior.
Yeah.
And Ray Meyer, who was the head coach at DePaul, for those who are basketball historians will remember that. But there was fog, travel problems. So Rick Pitino, instead of going for about an hour and 15 minutes, went for 3 hours. It was phenomenal, and told all that Billy had done. And I obviously got to work with Billy and came to know Billy and shared that story with him. And they went to the Final Four at the end of that year based on all that work.
I was class of 82, and the basketball coach there when I was there was Bobby Wanzer. You might remember that name.
I didn't know him.
Bobby Wanzer from the NBA, played with the Rochester Royals. And as a stipend, he was also our golf coach, and I played on the golf team in college. And what he did basically was he pointed the van towards the golf course that we were playing and said, guys, go play. That's where you're playing
I was a golf
today.
coach who was that close to that, too. So,
earlier today, Greg Sankey with us, commissioner, of course, the SEC. Things were kicked off with Lane Kiffin this morning, and he seemed really bothered. I mean, he went NIL the whole time. Even a couple of questions that were asked that were about players and whatnot, he always reverted back to the NIL issue. He called it a disaster, the portal and everything else. We know what's been going on in Congress and with the NCAA as well, trying to get control of this thing. But it was somber, really, to kind of hear him talk about it. I mean, is this now the number one issue in college sports?
It is. And I think Lane touched on elements of states that have not regulated themselves. They may have passed laws but have not overseen those laws, and then pulling back and barring from others enforcing those laws. It really is a twist that one would not have imagined, that nobody'd be overseeing or enforcing policies that can be healthy policies, and then barring conferences or even the NCAA from having some reasonable standards that can be enforced. It is an emphasis on, with all that's there, despite what critics may say, the venue to resolve the issue and have a national standard is Congress. We're involved in litigation right now, and some of that touches name, image, and likeness. So just enacting as an entity a name, image, and likeness policy doesn't help your standing in the litigation.
Yeah.
Our states then are barring reasonable standards from conferences. And he's probably more open and honest about feelings that are shared by his colleagues.
Yeah, and it's it seems so quaint now to say name, image, and likeness. That's not what this is. I mean, name, image, and likeness was about, guys being able to take a few bucks to go to the mall and do an appearance and sign autographs, or to go to a car dealership and do stuff like that. We had a couple of players last year on the air, and they were compensated for doing that. That's what it seemed like it was supposed to be. But now all of a sudden, millions of dollars in collectives, and then some. He mentioned that some universities are able to channel money now because of their state law to the collective and then back to the student. I mean, that isn't what this was supposed to be.
No, those circumstances were actually there from the beginning. So some of the focus becomes about recently adopted state laws, but the California law that was originally adopted in 2019 allowed a university to compensate an enrolled student athlete for use of their name, image, and likeness. And that was very much in conflict with expectations. And what's happened is, in our footprint, really healthy laws adopted around 2021 with a level of consistency. And then part of what's happened is our legislatures will step back and said, well, there's states out there without any laws. Nobody's governing the laws that happen. Some of the laws in other states outside our footprint allow for this direct compensation in different ways. Why are we being so restrictive? And that's produced an unhealthy environment. By the way, we predicted this. We predicted that the worst way to allow name, image, and likeness activity is on a state-by-state basis. Again, a combination of complexities of court cases, of language in court cases not related to name, image, and likeness, of new litigation. The states opened it up, and perhaps there's plenty of criticism about the NCAA being late to the party. But we're here, and we're at a time of change, and sometimes change takes external pressures like we have now.
Yeah, you would think the NCAA would be allowed to make rules to their member universities to make this more universal as to how it's all handled. And we saw this morning more congressmen coming up with more proposals and ideas, and there's a number of things that have been thrown out there. Is this something that can be wrangled? I mean, is this something you think can be figured out in a reasonable period of time?
Well, I think it is. There's a lot of interest, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge that's been shared. What we need is a commitment to resolve the issue, and I'm asked about a timeline. That's up to Congress, if there is a timeline. What we need, so today's bill introduced by Senator Moran, a Republican from Kansas, Senator Blumenthal, a Democrat from Connecticut, and Senator Booker, a Democrat from New Jersey. One, they are members on the Senate on Energy and Commerce Committee, which is a committee that's going to have jurisdiction over resolving this issue. Second, it's bipartisan, and I observed at the beginning of the week, these are nonpartisan issues: supporting student athletes, supporting opportunity for student athletes, providing consumer protections, ensuring that there's one common consistent standard. Those can be nonpartisan, and I think what we saw today with leading senators from both parties introducing a bill is helpful. That's only one step. We have to have this considered at the committee level. The legislation has to be voted on by a committee and advanced to the floor of the House or Senate, and then you can have a Senate vote. That's complex. It's complicated. It's a time when the two parties are not on the same page regarding a lot of things. But fundamentally, what we do in college athletics supports the Olympic movement. Mm-hmm. That's part of what we do, and that is a national issue. That is a national pride issue. That's a national positioning issues from a geopolitical standpoint, the access to gold medals. The federal government doesn't fund those opportunities. Our colleges and universities do. And if we change this great endeavor of college athletics in a significant way, you change the Olympic movement. You change the ability to provide opportunities. You change the health of those opportunities provided. That's why there's a need for action.
And for those who don't know, Booker played college football at Stanford, so there's maybe a little bit of an understanding of that as well. Greg Sankey with us here. All right, shifting gears, I'm going to ask you a question. This has been a topic ever, thank God you guys gave us the 8-game, 9-game topic, because that pretty much carried us through May and June. And but I'm going to ask you a question about it that is a little bit difficult, but you give me a thought on it if you can. We've had a few guests that have come on and a few callers who have called in that felt like the deal that was done with ESPN, the new deal that you guys did with ESPN, was done in good faith on a basis of a 9-game schedule. Can you speak to that at all? Because the cynics are saying, well, see, the only reason they went 8 is so they can jack up ESPN for more money to go to 9. When that deal was done, was there any understanding or handshake agreement that we were going to be playing 9 and 24 or anything like that?
No, it was an 8-game schedule. One of those deals was struck in 2012. Actually, 2. There are 3. One was struck in 2012. The other in 2020. In 2020, we weren't expanding at that point. That happened in 21. We had looked at different scheduling formats. That's a purview of the conference. We'll keep our television partners informed. The decision to go 8 or 9 games is based upon a variety of factors, and part of it is communication with our TV partner. But we did not commit to 9 games at any point.
Okay, so that answers that question. All right, one final question on expanded playoffs. And again, I'm going to go back to where I started. I coached at the D3 level. We see what happens at the FCS level. Nick Saban's won 7 national championships. Kirby's on a run where he's got 2 in a row, and these numbers are all fantastic. But anybody that knows anything about FCS, Division II or Division III knows with a big playoff, they have teams that win, the North Dakota State's won 10 out of the last 12 because you get the good teams in and the cream rises to the top. Is there a concern at all as we're expanding all of this playoff that we're going to end up with a scenario like that where a Wisconsin Whitewater scenario in D3 where they won 4 out of 5, that type of thing, that we could get those kind of results even at the FBS level now because we're going to have so much access?
Whether it's right or wrong, one of the points of criticism and commentary is that the 14 playoff does something like that, that we're accustomed to Alabama, Georgia now, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU's been in. There's not a lot of access points in the 14 playoff. By expanding to 12, you increase the access points. FCS has 24, so they have twice as many access opportunities to the championship, yet you watch remarkably the success of North Dakota State since they've been a part of
10 of the last 12.
Yeah,
could it happen here? And
I think it's a really good illustration that I've not heard a media member evaluate themselves and say, I wanted expansion because there's too many of the same teams. But if you look at the other expanded formats, you end up at the end with a lot of the same teams. The cream's going to rise to the the top. That is going to be a consistent basis. But we've ignored a whole part of the country in a national championship, the western part. We want teams from the West, Midwest, East Coast, Upper Midwest, Northeast to have access. I think there are teams that are of such quality that they can go from maybe a lower seed into a semifinal, and you never know in the magic of competition. And the opportunities are important. So we're going to bring with an expanded playoff, but between 800 and 1,000 new participants into a national championship opportunity. I think that could be healthy for the game.
And I agree with that, and that's all great. But the thing that stopped Bear Bryant from winning 10 maybe, or some of the, Tom Osborne from winning even more than what he won, were polls. I didn't like the system because I don't know that we always got it right. But when it was 2 teams, that's what you saw a lot of. You saw a lot of those. Now you're going to let all these good teams in. There's going to be 3 or 4 SEC teams in there. Just be careful what you wish for is what I would say to fans. You could end up looking like the other divisions and having, the dominance be even more. But we'll see.
If it was us, I'd be okay with that.
It'll be us. It'll be the SEC. You know how that is. I always say the AFC, the NFC, and the SEC. 3 best conferences in the world. So, all right, Commissioner, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
You always
Good to
help
be
us
here.
close the event. This was a little bit of a home game for me, but this Nashville, they did a real good job here. I think this was fantastic, not taking away from anybody else, but I thought Nashville did a great job hosting this thing. Everybody in the world knew we were going to Dallas next year, so that's going to be exciting too.
Yep, once we have a new Broadway in front of the hotel, it'll be seamless. It's exciting to see all the progress made in Nashville. It's just an amazing city. We're proud to be back here with our basketball tournaments each March for pretty much the next decade, and we'll be back with media days at some point.
I liked how you shot down though football. Atlanta, it's the road to Atlanta, it's the road to Hoover for baseball, and it's the road to Nashville for basketball, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Thanks, Commish.
Thank you.
All right, that's the commissioner, and always great to talk to him. And he brought his own equipment, so we'll get him disconnected here, and off he goes to the next opportunity. All right, we're going to get a commercial break in here. It's not NPR radio. It just kind of started that way with Josh Heupel and the commissioner. But coming up, Scott Ramsey will join us here in just a few minutes after this commercial break. I am Thom Abraham. It's the Thom Abraham Show, off and running on the final day of SEC Media Days, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Jeez. Wish I knew that was coming. We had it opened up for him. Yeah. It was a good job by you, because sometimes when under pressure like that, you'd be like,
well, I accidentally,
forget how to do this.
I accidentally put it in this one instead of this one.
Yeah.
I got it.
Did he do that? Did you have Stanky on? So he showed up with his own headset. Yeah, he doesn't. He didn't. I know, but I mean, this was the first year. I didn't know he was doing it. He's done that before. I don't remember him doing that. I don't remember him doing that. We were like, scrambling, getting switched over. Thank you. It posts 22 pictures, and there's only 6 that are different. You know, those ones at the SEC that we're putting on the Facebook. They're like one after the other, and the guy's like, here, he's here, he's here. I thought you were taking them. Yeah, those are. We should put yours up.
Well, I'm gonna have a little thing.
Okay. ahead. It's And welcome back. Thom Abraham Show on location. SEC Media Days, closing day. Closing time at SEC Media Days as we'll wrap up here at around 2 o'clock or so. And then, of course, tomorrow we have our annual Best of SEC Media Days show, and we'll kind of glean some of the best interviews that we did at SEC Media Days. Now, it's been a home game for Scott Ramsey. It's been like old home week for me being here in Nashville all week long and seeing all my friends. And instead of Scott Ramsey just showing up for one day in Hoover or Atlanta, he'd been here all week long. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? And your hometown is changing by the day.
Oh, my God. What'd you do to my hometown? I mean, this is that where they're building the stadium? I think they're starting a stadium right behind us
I
here.
don't know. I think
on Broadway. I don't know.
Got a lot of options right now with all the cranes up.
It was interesting. Greg Sankey just said we'll be back to Nashville because you guys have done a tremendous job hosting SEC Media Days, and he said that we'll definitely be back to Nashville. But he justified it with as soon as they get Broadway fixed.
Well, I tell you on that before I forget, I really want to thank Mark Sturgill, the general manager here at the Grand Hyatt, because obviously we had some unexpected logistics. We had this originally planned for 2021, and everything was going to be done, and we all know what happened in 20 and 21, and it got pushed back, and then we had the unexpected replacement of the bridge out front. And I really want to thank the staff here at the Grand Hyatt because I think everybody here has had a great experience inside the hotel, and it's a great property. And everybody out there listening, if you get a chance to come and visit the Grand Hyatt, I think you have a great experience.
We talked about many times going back to my time in Nashville about what this town was like pre-Predators. Really, Predators beat the Titans here, and what it was like before professional sports came here. And it is not only no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I believe that professional sports has led this revitalization of this downtown area. But as I go around downtown, and we've stayed right here downtown at an Airbnb, I don't know how they're fitting these buildings in. I keep seeing these little footprints and these big holes, and another one is going up, and I'm like, none of this was here in the a few years ago, and I don't know how they're fitting them all in, Scott.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's also exciting. To your point, and we reminisce a lot going back when we talk, and to think about where we've come as, I know we're talking sports primarily here, but as a destination city has been, we went from kind of the butt end to the jokes in the 90s when I moved here to now we're on the top of everybody's list of everything, whether it's sports or entertainment or just moving here. And I think just a lot of credit. You mentioned the sport franchises, and they could come here and be the NHL and the NFL and MLS and whatever, but they haven't been. They've been partners of the community and real engaged. And we have SC basketball locked in through 2035. I mean, there's not many NHL or NBA teams who give up, a week in March for 15 straight years, so it'd be good for the city. And I think that's what the Predators have done, and we're looking forward to doing the same kind of thing with the Titans. They've supported the Music City Bowl for 25 years, and now we got a new stadium coming, and going to be a great leader as a partner in new events.
And the current stadium is getting a bit of a facelift, and it's getting turf now, synthetic turf. Now, I'm not a fan. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of it. I know you are, because it often looks beat up. By the time we see the Music City Bowl, the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, it looks beat up on TV, and you can see the paint through and all that stuff, and it's going to look beautiful to the eye. I'm still a natural turf kind of guy, but so that's happening, and with a new stadium coming in about 3 years or so, it's kind of interesting that they're making that investment to kind of keep that place up to snuff and do the best they can with it. It's not like they're going to let it become obsolete before it becomes obsolete.
No, certainly not. And I say I'm a fan because of it allows us to just the schedule a little more flexible. And we can have the bowl game, or we can have a regular season game. We're having Tennessee, Virginia. I know it's a week before the regular season, but if it was, we could flip it and have it versus not having it because of grass and unable to kind of turn the field, which, last year we probably, I would say, outside of COVID, the most nervous that I'd ever been around a bowl game in my 28-year history here, with the Titans-Cowboys on Thursday night, ending at midnight, and we had an 11 a.m. kick on Saturday. And if it was one of your washout days or storm days on Friday, I'm not sure how we'd get the field playable. And there's really nothing that we could have done at that point. So, now to have the turf, it allows us to be a little more aggressive on when we can play games and stack some things in there. I think that's better for fans that come in. I think that's obviously more beneficial to the city and for our organization.
Of course, weather won't be an issue in 3 or 4 years or so. I guess 2020, is that the target date, the fall of 2027?
Correct.
That's when so the 2027 Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl would be in the new stadium. We heard the commissioner say that the SEC championship game is not on the move. It'll stay in Atlanta and so on, and that's fine. And, of course, basketball here in Nashville. Having said that, immediately with that stadium, this becomes a potential national championship destination. What would that mean? What is the future of the Music City Bowl? We've seen it move up the pecking order from being a very minor bowl to being just underneath the New Year's Six bowls. What is the potential for the Music City Bowl down the road, and what would bringing the national championship here necessarily do to the bowl game?
Well, the national championship, the best way to describe it is kind of like view it as a Super Bowl. It'd be a one-off, and it wouldn't affect our annual schedule of the bowl game. And certainly we're going to pursue that the best we can once the CFP folks are ready to kind of look out beyond 2026 and their new agreements. As far as the bowl long term, I mean, we're bullish on it because I think of Nashville. Certainly there's a lot of uncertainty in postseason college football. Next year we've got 3 years remaining on our current deals with the SEC, Big Ten, ESPN, our title sponsor, and everybody. But I think everybody's in a wait-and-see mode of what the impact of the 12-team playoff will be on teams and fans' perceptions of bowl games. Now, we feel like we've got a city that's not only accessible to Big Ten SEC fans, but also one that they'll come for a fan trip as much as a football trip, and we're going to kind of really figure out how we can kind of best leverage that. But, it's certainly something we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, the top of the system's really going to gain a lot of focus, and a lot of energy, and a lot of fan focus. So I think we're going to have to work hard on maintaining the marketing side of what we're doing here in Nashville.
Gary Stokan joined us a couple of days ago, and he talked about the difficulty lately of booking these neutral site games to start a season, because now with the expanded playoff, more and more schools are just going home and home, and they're taking. Could there come a point in time, though? You talked about Tennessee and Virginia, I think it is, right?
Right.
But can there come a point in time where that is a regular event, that maybe there's a kickoff classic type thing in that dome?
Well, I mean, from my seat, I'd love for that to be. From the seat of the ADs, when you're starting to invest, in all these upgrades and stadiums and redos, and also looking at your season ticket package, and when you can book the big non-conference game and put that in your package versus maybe a smaller game, that has a lot of value to them on campus. And also when you're looking at winning those games on strength of schedule now, trying to get in the playoff versus neutral site. So, Gary's right. They've been fortunate to where they've been able to kind of attract it and had the financial wherewithal to do that for many years. But as you look forward, it's getting a lot less of interest in from the AD seat, and rightly so. So, we've been ones to kind of be a little more targeted, a little more strategic, and this year we're excited about Tennessee coming in here and opening the season in Nashville.
And, Scott Ramsey's a lot more than just the bowl game, of course, the Nashville Sports Council. Funny story. We did an awards ceremony in Huntsville this year that was very much modeled after, I headed it up, and it was very much modeled after the Pepsi Celebration of Champions that we used to do here.
Right.
And in our staff meetings as we were developing it, the Huntsville Sports Commission was involved in it. They were one of the sponsors of it, and they were involved in it. I said Nashville Sports Council every other time, probably 50 to 60% of the time. I kept saying, well, the Nashville Sports Council, and they would look at me, Huntsville Sports Commission, and so I knew I was going to screw that up, so I want to get it right here. But a lot of chatter about baseball. I mean, people are talking baseball. I mean, Major League Baseball is talking about expanding, so it's not necessarily just a relocation. It's a potential expansion city for baseball. If they go to 32, everybody's talking about Nashville. How is this something you just kind of sit back and monitor? Do you deal with the local group that's looking to bring baseball? I know Plaster wants to see baseball here in Nashville. He maybe would even give up his love of the Braves just a little bit. Just a little bit, maybe he would give up his love of the Braves. It's not going to happen. He says no. But, talk to me about baseball.
Yeah, the cities, we've been fortunate that, we've gone through 2 expansion processes. Preds, obviously, we had already had the arena built, so an owner, and Craig Leopold at the time, was kind of somebody that was interested through the NHL office and got married up, and obviously we know the Predators were born there. And then MLS, we just recently, this is our 2nd season with Geodis, and man, what a fabulous facility that is. And, that was a process that, we were really a long shot until John Ingram stepped up as the owner and principal owner and really fit in with the ownership group there, and we were awarded the franchise, and they're doing great. So I think when you look at that, I think we're still kind of looking at the 2 biggest components locally, your lead owner and your facility plan. And then obviously timing that out with Major League Baseball's expansion timeline. So, those 3 things have to kind of marry up, and right now the local group is really doing a great job with grassroots interest and marketing, and they're out there, and I think one of those once we get kind of a facility and a lead ownership plan, it'll be a little more able to kind of focus in on what's next.
Scott Ramsey has been our guest. We always get a chance to talk to him in the fall when we do our Music City Bowl package for our Friday trifecta and Beat the Big Dog and all that kind of good stuff that we do. And he comes on and helps predict the bowl games and so on, the matchups at least, not the games themselves, but the matchups. So we look forward to talking to you again in the fall. And, man, I'll tell you what, things are going great here in Nashville, no doubt about it.
Well, we're pretty proud of our city, and we appreciate everybody from northern Alabama and your listenership being great supporters of the city. And, I think the basketball tournament, being here long-term gives us a great platform, and certainly with the bowl and the new stadium and all the things we've been doing here, a great opportunity. We've got an IndyCar race here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's been doing great. It's our 3rd year, and, the city's on fire, and we're excited about it, and looking forward to what's ahead.
I want you to just put orange barrels out there in the street and let the Indy cars go around the orange barrels, just like all the rest of us have to, right?
Yeah, that'd be a good point. Be a little bumpy for those cars, I think, but we'll see. So, Tom, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It's Scott Ramsey. It's always good stuff. All right, let's get a break in, and we'll come back and set you up we'll come back at the top of the hour next, right here on the Thom Abraham Show from SEC Media Days in Nashville on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to SEC Media Days on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
At Bryant Bank, we recognize your time is valuable, and easy, secure access to your finances is essential. That's why we provide the financial tools you need to manage your money on the go and make life a bit easier. At Bryant Bank, we're here to help with instant debit cards, Apple Pay, person-to-person payments, and more. Bryant bankers want to show you how beneficial our digital banking services can be. Learn more at bryantbank.com. Bryant Bank. Live legendary. Member FDIC.
Thomas from Talent Heating and Air back in studio with us. And Thomas, those temperatures in the summertime starting to rise once again. You want to make sure you're not left out in the heat. You want some cold AC? Give Talent Heating and Air a call.
Yeah, you're just going to take it
That's
through
right.
the top of the hour.
If you give us a call, we can generally get out there the same day. So we pride
just
ourselves
take it
on
to
the
the
same day
top and then
service.
come back with
And
the
what's
open
that
for
number?
hour two, and then I'll start playing a couple of things from here.
256-503-4490.
And if those AC units are giving you the blues and you've already called someone else, never fear. Give Talent Heating and Air a call because you guys can still come out.
That's right. We do free second opinions on major repairs and quotes. A lot of times we save our customers thousands of dollars and additionally get their units repaired before the other guy could even get started.
And that number for Talent Heating and Air is?
256-503-4490.
And if you can't give Talent Heating and Air a call, you can find them online at
talenthvac.com.
Schedule all your appointment service calls there. Talent Heating and Air. Give them a call or find them online today.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
The official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care. Specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine,
Sure, right for you. Abraham Show on location, our final hour of SEC Media Days from here on location. Of course, the drive tonight, they will be wrapping up a bunch of stuff a little bit later on. And then, and of course, coming up right after us is Paul Feinbaum. He is still here. I've seen Paul bumping around, and I'm sure he's got some good stuff for you guys coming up as well. Now, today kicked off with Lane Kiffin, and I got to tell you right now, it'll be interesting to see what it sounds like versus what it was like being in the room with him, because I have never seen Lane Kiffin seem so dejected. He seemed, he was consumed by NIL. Even whenever questions were asked, his mindset kept going back to NIL. It seemed like he was defeated feeling, if you will. It wasn't, there was a little bit of sarcasm in there, but not much. He was set up by the commissioner about not wearing a tie, and the commissioner's not wearing a tie this week because of, in honor of Mike Leach and all of that stuff. And Kiffin didn't even acknowledge that setup. He just got up there and started, and it was weird, to be honest with you. To me, it was weird. So later on, about 20 minutes later, after he went through Marty and McGee, he then ended up in the electronic media room where he was much more engaging, and that you haven't heard yet. Now, you heard Lane Kiffin live this morning if you were listening this morning, but for those of you that missed it, this is Lane Kiffin's opening statement, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of Lane Kiffin from the electronic room, if you will. Lane Kiffin, of course, head football coach at Ole Miss. Now, hang on one second now. Hang on one second here. You see, this is what happens when I don't get to use my producer, and as opposed to Chad being able to run this stuff from the studio, we're running it from here, so that it ends up, for those of you that are watching the stream, so you guys can get it on the stream. But Chad, technical tip, okay? This is just a technical tip, Chad, because I know you're a technical guy. I just want to throw something at you. You need to have your computer unmuted if you're going to play something out of your computer, okay? Yeah, you see what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, that's a high-end technical tip here. You've got to take unmute the computer. The problem is between the computer screen and the back of the chair is what the problem is. That's the thing here. All right, let's give it another shot.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, so we're going into our fourth year here at Ole Miss, which has been a very exciting offseason for us. Really grateful to Keith Carter, athletic director, our chancellor, Boyce, for keeping us here and believing in what we're building here. And our Ole Miss fans in the city of Oxford has been awesome. So excited for this fourth year coming up. To recap, we were on a really good run. I'm not going to say a great run because we have extremely high standards, but coming off the 10-3 season, and really last year we were 8-1, and with the ball in our hands to go down, I want to say the 14-yard line. 1st and 10, with a chance to beat Alabama, to have a great home win and go to 9-1. And so that was a really good run for a season and 9 games there. And then I didn't do a very good job at the end of the year of keeping our team together. I think, not as an excuse, but I set it up here a year ago. The challenge is when you have such a roster overhaul and so portal heavy, and I've said I've always been concerned about culture issues when you do that because you don't have kids that have been there very long. So, and I said one of those challenges, even if you look at the NBA when they put together these good free agent teams, is if seasons don't go great, it's very hard to keep everybody playing at a high level because the expectations were so high. So I think down the stretch there, after the Alabama game, I didn't do a good enough job of finding a way to keep our guys playing at a high level because we did not play to our standards at the end of the season. So excited about this season coming up. There's been a ton of change, 40 new scholarship players. It's kind of the world that we live in. I think everybody's experiencing that more than ever on their roster. And I think every place has their own plan, and every place does things differently. I would think, I would speak for myself, based off of what you need to do at that place to win. There's not this blueprint that's everywhere, that would be the same everywhere, in my opinion, because you got to figure out high school kids, junior college kids, and then portal kids, and where your numbers go there. And with the relief from the 25 initial scholarship counters every year, that gets more creative of how you can put your roster together. For those who are not familiar, before there used to be a cap there, so you could not have these massive roster changes that you've seen at some places around the country. Also, Pete Golding coming in on defense. We're really excited about that change and what he brings. To bring him over from Alabama, I've known Pete and people that worked with him a long time. He's ahead of the game, very intelligent, really great recruiter as well. So there's some transition there with a lot of new coaches and a ton of new players, and some that missed spring, like Cedric Johnson, who's here today, missed the spring. So this fall will be really important for us in all areas, but especially on defense, of putting all that together to play good defense. Some topics here that are out there, and so I'm going to address the portal NIL, what I kind of call disaster that we're in. And so I know that question is going to come. And the reason why I break that down usually is because I do afterwards get a lot of feedback from you guys in the media, or fans, that they're appreciative, of a coach that really addresses where it's at and what are the challenges with it. So first off, I've always said I think it's phenomenal that players get a chance to get paid, which is great. I do think, which I've stood up here and said before when it first happened, that there's going to be some major issues, and we're creating free agency with the portal. And with NIL, you've got a lot of pay for play going on, and that is what it is. So, those two things combining, there just is not a system in place. And I don't think that there's any other sports at any level that are like this, that really you every year can opt into free agency, really twice a year. And I was just thinking on a plane ride over here, what if you had that in other sports? Tom Brady, Asia Wilson, Lionel Messi, LeBron James. What if every year those guys can opt into free agency twice a year, really, and they got no long-term contracts? Basically, everybody's not even on a one-month contract because they can leave in 2 windows. So it's just created a lot of issues, and these roster changes, and I'm not complaining about it because we take advantage, obviously, of free agency. But at the same time, I don't think that's really good for college football. These massive overhauls of rosters every year really is not in the best interest of college football. And then when you add the NIL at the same time, we've created, I've said it before, we got different caps and no luxury taxes. So now we got professional sports, because that really is what we are, what's been created now. And there's no caps on what guys can make or what teams' payrolls are. So when this first came out, it said, all right, basically whatever programs have the most aggressive boosters with the most money are going to get the players. And now we're adding some states that now you don't have to follow NCAA, and now the university can take their money and give it to the collective to give to the players. So now we really have pay for play that the biggest schools with the most donors, most aggressive, and the school wants to spend the most money paying the players for play to come to their school is where we're at. So there's kind of your State of the Union on the situation of what all coaches are dealing with around the country. And really a poor system that isn't getting better now is going to get worse with this because, again, now we just look at recruiting rankings and you're going to see that they usually are going to follow this, donor base and what schools are going to decide to give the most money to the players. So it is what it is. We'll deal with it like we do with everything else, but somehow it's got to get fixed because there's no system around it. So, we did a really neat thing this off season with mental health training for our staff. Myself, our coaching staff, everyone in our building went through a class. And I know at first people may think, okay, well, that's a good recruiting tool that you can say, hey, which I didn't even know at the time, we're the first staff to do this, that's trained in mental health. And be able to say that to parents in recruiting. That was not the motive at all. It really, when I talk about, creating a new box, not just thinking outside the box, we do that in analytics, we do that in all areas, I feel like, in our program. We don't ever do anything because it's in that old book of how to coach and how to do things. In this mental health area, it really was not in that old school coaching book at all. It was just, hey, shut up and go practice and play, especially in the sport of football. So just over the years of going through so many mental health issues with our players and coaches and not having tools and not having a really good system in place besides just sending them, across campus, to a mental health specialist. So I was excited to do that and just excited for the education with that and the ability to see things and help our players is really neat because they just go through so much. Players always have, but now because of the social media and every play, everywhere, everybody's seen every play, our players go through a lot. I mean, remember they're kids and they read all those things when fans or media say this play and they lost the game, and it's really challenging when you talk to the kids about how much that wears on them, as well as all the other issues they have to deal with. So that was pretty neat. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Lane, the penalties and the end of the Tennessee kind of investigation, with all that came out this past week, obviously your history with that program and other programs that kind of going through those penalties, just your thoughts on that overall.
That didn't take long.
That was about it out of the humor from Lane Kiffin. That didn't take long, and he had no comment basically on what went on there other than to say that he was, he saw that Coach Heupel was happy that they only got an $8 million fine and didn't have a bowl ban. All right, so that was Lane Kiffin in his opening comments a little bit earlier. Now, when that was going on, by the way, we had a situation. We had something happened out here, and I got to be honest with you, and Captain Cool is sitting by me here as well as he's been handling all of the social media and the digital stuff here. He's off camera. You could just stay off camera over there. We don't need you on camera. He's over there. Now, what happened was there's a storm moving in and over Nashville, and there's a balcony, a beautiful balcony that is right behind us here in the hotel. So we walked out on the balcony. John was out on the balcony. He was out there walking a dog and just kind of hanging out. And we were looking out over the storm area, and I picked up my phone to take a quick picture, and the floor gave way in the balcony. And I didn't know how far down I was going. The floor just gave way. Am I lying? And I went ass over tea kettle.
Yeah,
I went down and rolled over and banged my elbow and landed on. And I was trying to shut the door because I was worried about Plaster's equipment here. He's right. George Plaster's setup is right next to us, and the wind was blowing in. I thought it was going to knock over his stuff, and I went down. It's about 12 to 18 inches straight down before you get to some sort of a floor, and I tipped over, and I thought I was going to break my shin, because my leg got kind of stuck down in there.
I thought the same thing.
as I went down. And I'm going to have nightmares of falling over the balcony is what it is that, I don't want to go over the balcony. But I landed on my elbow and kind of cut my elbow up and everything else. And those of you that are watching, can you see?
Yeah.
Can we see on it? Give me that camera right there, this one that's close by. All right, so there we go. There's those of you that are watching on the stream can see the damage. All right, you can see that I'm injured. All right, so this is a first. 20 years at SEC Media Days, I've never been injured at SEC Media Days. Okay, so there. So Scott Tyson wants to bellyache about the fact that he's been to 24 Media Days, and I've only been to 20. But he has never been injured at SEC Media Days. So I have now been injured at SEC Media Days. So it goes up on that level. All right, I'll be okay, though. I'll be all right. I just don't want you guys to worry about me. I'll be okay. All right, we're going to get a quick break in it. When we come back, Lane Kiffin from the electronic media room and hear what the coach at Ole Miss had to say there. And maybe he was in a little bit better mood, a little bit different than he was in the main media room. We'll come back with that. We also have our predictions for every single team this year coming up, and we'll get to that as well. And, of course, the little preview for Captain Cool as beginning on Tuesday, July 25th, next Tuesday.
The anniversary of the afternoon blitz that is no more.
The afternoon blitz that used to be on the Blitz, which is that goes away, and we debut the morning blitz from 9 to 10 right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Yeah.
So you're fired up for that.
I'm looking very much forward to it.
So we have High School Media Day Monday from Toyota Field, and then on Tuesday, John debuts in the 9 to 10 slot with the morning blitz, which with he and the Bandy Man. So that's going to be good stuff. All right, we're going to break in here. We'll come back. Lane Kiffin from the electronic room next, right here. Thom Abraham Show, injured on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Media Days on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison
Ann Adams
on
with
Hughes
Berkshire
Road.
Hathaway
Or
Rise Real Estate is
visit
the one name to know if you're buying or
WoodyAndersonFord.com.
selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
You're listening to
I am going to be sore. Seriously. Welcome back, Thom Abraham Show. And before we get our next segment in, let me just take a moment to thank all of our sponsors that were able to make it possible for us to be able to do things like this. I mean, of course, Woody Anderson Ford, they've been supporting us for some 17, 18 years now, and maybe almost every trip that I've made to SEC Media Days over 20 years, 19 times out in the field. Woody Anderson Ford was the sponsor of that show, so we really appreciate them for that. And of course, North Alabama Mortgage, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, and Alumni Hall, all helping us be out here at SEC Media Days. Absolutely tremendous stuff. All right, so we gave you about 10 minutes of Lane Kiffin from the main media room, and then about 20 minutes later, from the main media room, he went into Marty and McGee. And then he came out and went to the electronic media room, and this was Lane in the electronic media room. This is fresh. You have not heard this yet.
Is here, and we are ready for questions. We'll start on the front row here, second seat. Okay.
Coach Kiffin, right here. Jamal Kennedy, WFA 12 Sports here in Montgomery.
Right here doesn't help.
Sorry, right here. Quinshon Judkins, what can you say about just the person that he is to be able to bring him as a sophomore and what he meant to your offense and your team last year?
Yeah, it's really amazing as a freshman to be able to do that and that many carries. I think he led the conference in carries, yards, and touchdowns. And to do that as a freshman, he has an elite mindset. And to be able to carry the ball that many times and late in games still running strong. So we actually think he can get a lot better, like anyone from their first to second year. So we're really excited to see that development.
Second row, and then pass the mic up.
Dan Peck, ESPN 106.7 in Auburn. Coach, former Ole Miss coach Hugh Freeze is back in the league coaching Auburn. Your relationship with Coach and how well you two know each other?
A little bit. My brother worked at Ole Miss under him, and so I got to meet him a few times. He's done a great job wherever he's been, winning games. So I'm excited for him to get that opportunity to be back in the conference.
Left side, front row.
Chris Farblin, K2, 8.1 FM in Columbia. Coach, on Monday, Fadil Diggs said the quarterback he went up against that gave him the most troubles in edge rusher was Jackson Dart. I just want to ask, how has Dart developed since he came in from USC last year, and what do you expect from him in his second year at Ole Miss?
Well, Jackson's had a great offseason. Again, in this portal world, we just think everybody's going to be great right away, expectations. And so it was his first year in our system. And he was competing to be the starter all the way till I think the third game of the year, or fourth game of the year. So he's really developed well on and off the field, become more of a leader, and we're really excited about him.
Front row.
Hey, Coach, Steve Moulton, WZZN out of Huntsville. On the quarterback room in general, how talented do you think that quarterback room is?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's the deepest room we've had that way, and excited about where we came from. Luke had already decided to transfer before even our bowl game, so we really were down to one quarterback coming into spring, and now to be at 4 is really exciting.
Left side, second row.
Tyler Shaw with KBTX in College Station. You guys have beaten A&M the past couple of times. Just what's it like playing those squads and Jimbo Fisher, and just kind of what's your relationship with Jimbo like now?
Playing A&M is extremely challenging. I mean, they have the best looking players, tied with, Alabama probably of anybody that we play. And now I guess Georgia next year, but it's really challenging playing them because you got mismatch issues that you got to work on because they have so much talent. Playing there was a big challenge, which I didn't know if it would be because their season hadn't gone great. So I was kind of hoping the crowd wouldn't show up, but the place was rocking when we played there, and really tough place to play and a great fan base. So we've been fortunate to beat them both times, and look forward to a big challenge this year.
Right side, front row.
Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV in Baton Rouge. Coach, if I could just sneak a couple in. First, Walker Howard transferring, how is he doing? And your thoughts on playing Brian Kelly and LSU again this year?
Yeah, we're excited that Walker came in. Really competitive kid, has really jumped into the playbook and had a really good spring. So we're excited about adding him to that room. Brian's done a great job there in a short period of time. Inherited a really good roster and did a great job of adding to that roster, especially with the quarterback and portal guys. So they got it rolling, and he's done a good job wherever he's been.
Left side, third row, then pass the mic on.
Hey, Coach. So Cedric mentioned that, you're a lot different in the locker room than people might think on the outside based on seeing your social media and that sort of thing, a lot quieter. So could you just speak to that at all about, how you're differing, with outside and then inside with the team?
Yeah, I think I took a different approach than most coaches, which is kind of what I do in a lot of areas when it comes to social media, especially Twitter. And I just was like, I just started it, and I was like, I want to feel it's like be a normal person and comment just like I would if I was a normal person, or retweet things, without having a, meeting with my SID before we figure out whether this is the proper thing to tweet that everybody will like and stuff. So if I did that, I wouldn't be tweeting very much, but I just kind of, and then it just started. There wasn't a master plan, kind of like Juice's Twitter, like it just kind of fell together, and then I just kind of ran with it and embraced it.
Front row, right side.
Hey, Coach, good to see you again. AP Stedham, AP and Kelly, as we see at syndicated radio show. Coach, you're always studying different strategies for the game. I was wondering, what's your experience studying multi-quarterback system? That's a possibility.
Yeah, I would prefer that not to happen, but again, we don't ever do something just because we're supposed to. So if that's the best chance to win, then we would do that. I just think that that's been challenging. There's some times you can point where it's worked, but most of the time it's not really worked great. The team's got two different people calling cadence and different plays and stuff. So I would prefer that not to happen.
Left side, fourth row.
Hey, Coach. Grayson Weir with Outkick.com. As you look ahead to the 2023 season, there are a lot of new faces and a lot of dynamics within the SEC. Which game do you look forward to most on the calendar, and why?
Yeah, I know this is kind of coach speak, but we just got to get to camp and start working and worry about the opener and go from there. And like I said in the other room, this is now like you're in the NFL. I mean, the SEC is so competitive, has so many of the premier players in college football now come to the SEC from around the country and don't stay at home where they used to. So you got challenges every single week.
Right side, second row.
Hey, like with you guys bringing in, a couple more transfer quarterbacks this year, in your past experience
what are some of the factors in kind of making for a successful marriage when you bring in a new quarterback? And like you said, Jackson, it took him a few games to kind of get his feet wet. What are the most important factors to making sure that process is a successful one?
Well, I think with Jackson in the first couple games, get his feet wet, that was, again, we just do whatever it takes to win. And we were running the ball great. Early on, was looking at the schedule that we were going to be able to play really good defense, I thought, versus our opponents that we were playing. And so we kind of took the ball out of his hands to make sure we were winning the games. I think we ran 63 times or something, against Georgia Tech. So he's really done a good job. I think that quarterback thing of bringing them in, I kind of let them experience some things on their own at first and then kind of feel them out and see how they are and then kind of get more involved one-on-one with them. And just kind of the way that I've done it. I think Matt Krause spoke to that before. The difference of after being there a semester or so in the relationship.
Left side, third row.
Sammy Roebuck, WTVA. How have you seen Pete Golding mentor players already on the defense?
Yeah, Pete does a great job off the field. He's always got kids in his office talking to them, helping them out. Really smart guy that does dig into the players because, when we meet, ask about a player, he already knows their whole background and life situations and stuff. So he does a great job of that.
Second row, right side.
Coach Michael Bronner, WNSP in Mobile. You obviously have a pretty documented relationship with Nick Saban. I was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit and just talk about how much he's meant in your coaching career.
Well, I'm extremely grateful to Coach Saban and our time together, and most importantly, him giving me an opportunity to learn from him. And, he's the best to ever do it. I've said it before. I really do believe he is the best coach to ever do it because, like you guys know in here, I take in all the information and look at it instead of just like, okay, a record. He's done it in a time of scholarship limitations where some of those older coaches didn't have them, and they could. What if Nick Saban didn't have an 85 rule? What would his roster look like if he had 150 scholarships to give? And also, he's done what I don't think anybody did over time of do it continually with so much staff turnover. So many people are hired off of his staff. Other places are to be head coaches, and it's kind of like, man, all these first-round picks, and he loses these coordinators. That's why we have Feinbaum, so he can motivate him every other year and say, his dynasty's over, and this is the end of Saban. And then we're like, hey, thanks a lot for pissing him off. And Paul's always wrong on this subject. So, and he just did it again the other day. If he doesn't make the playoffs, he's not any good as a coach. So thanks, Paul.
Left side, third row.
Hey, Coach. Jason Williams, WTVA 9 News in Tupelo. I was just wondering, with this being your second time being a head coach in the SEC, how would you say how much you've grown in your 4 years at Oxford and between the time you were last head coach at Tennessee and now being your fourth year in Ole Miss?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody actually the other day from that year at Tennessee, and we were just telling stories and stuff, and it really seems like a lifetime ago. Like a whole different life. So a lot of things have happened since then. And this, I've said before, this Ole Miss and this moving to Oxford has really been amazing for me personally. My daughter moving with me to go to Oxford High School and now to go to Ole Miss is really special and something that was missing, and so. It's been an awesome time there, and I'm, like I said in the last room, I'm extremely grateful, not just the leadership at Ole Miss, but the people of Oxford and how they've accepted her.
Last two questions, right side, third row.
Rob Brown, Sideline Sports in Memphis. You're the son of a coach, and I remember your dad when he coached, and he's a big influence on you. When I was in school at Auburn, at the end of the year, all my friends used to go in with Coach Dye, and they'd kind of show you where you fit in on the depth chart. Sometimes you didn't fit in, they'd say move on. Do you still get to have those conversations with people? And because I worked with a kid for 12 years in Memphis. His dad coached at Alabama, and he was basically a human concussion dummy, he told me. And he got the hell beat out of him, but he made it 5 years through that system. Graduated, got that letter on the wall. And he can go in anybody's office in the state of Alabama, and they say, you went through all that and just got to hug your parents on senior day. You loved it that much. Do you have those conversations with people and remind them what it means to stick it out and not quit, come back to Oxford one day, and what that can do for them?
Wow, that was a long one.
Too much coffee.
That's not coffee, that's Red Bull. I do think that's really missed nowadays, and that's the generation, but that's Portal. And unfortunately, outside of probably walk-ons, we don't have that much anymore. They just don't think like that, and it's too much outside information coming in, and it's too much grass is greener. And I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to take my ball and run. And unfortunately, that's the world that we're in, so I do miss those stories. You still have them, usually with walk-ons, but those are neat stories of different places of being and still having relationships with some of those players that weren't the star player, but were just like the amazing kid. Or over time, it's been cool to hire a couple of them, to get them into coaching or a recruiting department because their passion for the place or the passion for the game to have that around.
Final question, front row.
Coach Nick Brooks with WTVY in Dothan, Alabama. First, you played Troy to open up your season a year ago. They had, I think it was 10-3 or 7-3 going into the halftime. Really competitive game towards the end of the fourth quarter. Just kind of your evaluation on that game. And then the second question I have, I actually get mistaken for you a lot. I go to high school football games a lot, and they'll actually call me Lane Kiffin. I just want to know what your thought is, if you think I actually look like you, or they're just seeing things.
Yeah, that was the longest question. That's the strangest question. Now I don't even remember the first question because this is the last. Do you get called Daniel Tosh too?
Yeah, actually, you and Daniel Tosh.
Okay. I get that actually too. Like I'll be walking through somewhere and somebody will be like, "Are you Lane Kiffin?" I'll be like, "No, I hate that dude. He sucks." It's really cool because the conversation's like over and you can keep moving. So, and it's run through down to my daughter. She does it now. Like, she's like, "I don't like all the attention, because the last name." So people will be like, "Oh, are you Landry Kiffin?" And she's like, "Nope, I heard bad things about her." So she's kind of learned that same trick too. So I'm sorry that you get paired in with me. But I would embrace it. I would just go with it.
My Twitter bio is Lane Kiffin's doppelganger. And I got I think it's your headshot from when you were playing college football with the goatee. Because I sent that to my mom, and she was like, "Is that you?" Like, she did not know who that was.
What's your mom's name? I gotta ask my dad some questions now. I would just embrace it and be like, you probably get like free drinks at places and stuff, like just depending on what state in the SEC you go to. But so, next question.
Okay, I think we're done. Thanks, Coach.
That's a good one to end on.
So there you go. That was Lane Kiffin in the electronic media room, and you could see the difference of how good he was in that scenario versus how he was earlier today. All right, we're going to get a break in here. When we come back, Shane Beamer is one of my favorite coaches in the SEC. I'm really pulling for that guy. I may become a Carolina fan in the East. If I got to have a team in the East Division, it may be him. So I need to play for you what he said, plus we'll get the phone lines open up here for our final segment as well. We'll come back with more right after this on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Listen, do you know what he wants? Ugh. Really, Chad? You gonna drop Rocky Top on me right at the end of the show? Really? Oh God. Welcome back to Thom Abraham Show. Oh, it is Tennessee Day. I mean, it's been Tennessee Day over here. That is true. Woo! Wait a minute. We're rolling Sweet Home here? Oh, that's my Sweet Home rejoin. Yeah, right. Now you're talking. It's a good job by you. All right. Ooh, wow. I think one of the cranes just got hit by lightning. It is bad out there right now. In my luck, there you go, boom, ba-boom. With my luck, I would go out on the patio and get struck by lightning. I mean, at this particular point in time, that's the only thing left is for me to go out there and get struck by lightning after I almost fell 40 feet off through the floor of the balcony. Hey, I'm getting sore, man. I'm getting sore. All right, Shane Beamer is one of my favorite coaches in the SEC, and he was asked a question that spoke right to my heart because this is something that there's a level of disrespect, and I was really impressed with his answer on this. Take a listen.
Hey, Coach Brooks Austin with Dogs Daily. I believe you and Coach Sam Pittman are the only two coaches in the conference without an extensive coordinating background, offense and defensively. As a football coach, what kind of challenges does that present, and what do you feel like you've had to overcome without that?
Certainly respect the question, but also people talk about, well, you haven't been a coordinator. Being a special teams coordinator is being a coordinator. And everybody talks about, well, that guy's not been an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. Being a special teams coordinator prepared me better to be a head football coach than if I had been on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. And I say that because when you're the special teams coordinator, you're the only coach other than the head coach that stands in front of the whole team and talks to the team, because coaching special teams takes the entire roster. So you've got to have a relationship with every player on the team. You got to be able to motivate guys to play special teams. You got to be able to be detailed and organized, because you might get 20 minutes in practice, so you've got to be efficient at what you're doing in that time. So my time as a special teams coach really prepared me. And then the fact that all along I was coaching offense and defense. So I told Ray Tanner and Chance Miller when I interviewed for this job that, no, I haven't been an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, but I wouldn't have changed my career path for anything because of how it did prepare me to be a head football coach as well. And I like to think that I'm somewhat knowledgeable on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball as well, but it was a great experience for me and really beneficial.
I've been saying that for 20 years. Now, what I need to know from Moulton, because he's Mr. Cut-Up stuff here, he sends us 62,000 cut-ups all the time. He sends all these cut-ups of stuff. So how do I get the cut-up of that? How do I get that little bit?
I'll get it to you tonight. How about that?
There you go. That would be soon enough. That'd be good.
Because you were able to survive.
That will be my
the
ringtone.
Fall
yes.
Of
yes. Yeah. My work as a special teams coordinator prepared me for not being in coaching anymore. So I guess maybe I wasn't that good at it. I don't know. But no, that was apropos what he said, and it was spot on exactly what he said about being a special teams coordinator. And I can get that little 5-second blip out of there. It will be in my open of the show. My time as a special teams coordinator.
Give us a call, Steve.
Yeah, give us. He's going to replace. Give us a call, Steve.
It's all good.
Give it a call.
So, have you filled out your ballot?
Oh yeah, my ballot. Let's do the ballot quick. I want to run down my ballot for the All SEC preseason team. Where it is? Here it is. Okay.
Who's your champ?
All right. So let's go to the finishing order. My champ. I'll tell you who my champ is. My champ is Georgia. All right, Georgia is my SEC champion. In the West, I went with Alabama over LSU, and I think that's the way it's going to go when they announce this tonight or tomorrow morning. I think it'll be very close, but I think it'll be Alabama over LSU. And again, LSU plays in Tuscaloosa on a revenge game. That's the only reason. I know they're there. They got the quarterback. I get all of that. Alabama is a double-digit favorite in every single game this season, including that one where they right now are an 11-point favorite, even though it's in November. That's the look-ahead line. There's no reason to think that if they play clean football, that they're not going to win the West. I got Alabama 1, LSU 2. I have Texas A&M 3. I'm a big believer this year in the bounce back for Texas A&M with Bobby Petrino as the offensive coordinator. I went Arkansas 4, Ole Miss 5, Mississippi State 6, and Auburn 7. And Auburn will be better this year than they were last year. I mean, they're going to be better than they were last year, and they're still going to be 7. I mean, I just, now they could be tied. It could be Mississippi State and Auburn, tied. They could both go, 2-6 in the league, and they end up at that point. In the East, I have Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, South Carolina and my boy Shane Beamer at 3, Kentucky 4, Florida 5, Missouri 6, and Vandy 7.
All right, so I went Bama, Texas A&M, Auburn, LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, the predicted order out of the West.
So Auburn 3.
Auburn 3.
You have a big year out of Auburn. Wow.
And the East, I have Georgia, followed by South Carolina, then Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Florida, and then Vanderbilt. I am scared a little bit because I think South Carolina's schedule is pretty daunting.
Brutal.
But I am going to put my chips into Spencer Rattler's.
Let's go back to Auburn. What do you have them? They win their 4 non-conference games, so there's 4.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have them in the league? Because I have them splitting Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and beating Vandy.
I've got them beating both Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
So you have them winning both of those games.
I do.
So that's 2. Where is their – then Vandy would be 3. I assume you have them beating at Vandy.
I think it's a split between Texas A&M and LSU, as well as a loss against Alabama.
So you think they can go to Texas A&M or LSU and win one of those games? They haven't done it when they're bad, though. They've done it when they're good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay, so you're high on. So you have them about 4-4, is what you're saying in the league.
Hugh Freeze went to Arkansas last year and won.
Well, yeah,
on the road.
Yeah, that's true.
With a Liberty team, I'd like to believe this Auburn team is more talented than Liberty.
But I think Arkansas will be better. I think Arkansas got caught with the shorts down. When you see Auburn coming out of the tunnel, it's different than when you see
Arkansas replaced
Liberty.
So much from last year, from the portal and the coordinators. They certainly do have Rocket Sanders and K.J. Jefferson, but I'd like to know defensive leaders. I didn't get a whole lot of answers on that when the Hogs were here.
So you have Georgia over Alabama in Atlanta.
I have Alabama over Georgia.
Wow.
And Alabama is the SEC champ.
Wow, there you go.
I
All right, so that's a good job by you. Alabama fans will be happy with that. And you had South Carolina 2. I had them 3. So you have Tennessee a little. You're fading Tennessee a little bit. I got them at 9-3 on the season.
Well, a little. When I think of fade,
it's just not a terrible 9-3 would be great.
Yeah. It's honestly what I was more expecting out of Tennessee last year. What I think they'll end up this year.
I have Alabama at 11-1. I can't tell you which one they lose, but I think they'll get tripped up somewhere. I got Arkansas 9-3, Auburn 6-6. I have Florida 6-6, Georgia 12-0, Kentucky 6-6, LSU 9-3. I have Ole Miss 9-3, Mississippi State 5-7, Missouri 4-8. I have South Carolina 8-4. I had Tennessee at 9-3, Texas A&M with a big bounce back to 8-4, and I have Vandy at 5-7, which is what they were last year. So that's going to do it. I want to thank everybody. Captain Cool did a tremendous job keeping us all straight on the video and the streams and everything else. Steve Moulton took care of all the audio and chopping up stuff and doing all this stuff here for us here on location. Did a tremendous job as well. Of course, West Neighbors helping us out, making it possible for us to be here all week long, and all the folks at the SEC who helped out as well. And I want to thank the crew for fixing the floor that I fell through out on the balcony as well. And, of course, as always, Chad Watney in studio, keeping the whole shooting match together. He is invaluable. I'm Thom Abraham. Paul Feinbaum is next. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.